The galaxy had many names for it over the centuries: the Devourer, the Night Sovereign, the Maw that Dreams. But among the archivists of Virella, the scholars who kept the oldest stellar histories, it was known simply as Xalomor. Xalomor was not a creature in the traditional sense. It was a gravitational aberration that behaved as though it were alive, a colossal mass of semi-corporeal dark matter threaded with what could only be described as neural filaments, like a brain the size of a moon, wrapped in a storm of shadow. It drifted, it fed, it learned, and it remembered. Entire civilizations disappeared when Xalomor passed through their regions of space. Their fleets would fire every weapon imaginable into its void-black mantle, and the creature, if it could be called that, would simply swallow the energy, expand, and move on. It was the galaxy's apex predator, a myth to some, a nightmare to most, and an unavoidable truth to the unlucky. Humanity, however, had never encountered it, not yet. But humanity was strange in ways the galaxy barely comprehended. Humans fought each other over ideologies, invented weapons far beyond their survival needs, and pushed the boundaries of physics simply to see what would happen. Their species' motto could have been, "Try it and see if it kills us." When the Federation of Independent Human Colonies expanded into the Perseus Fringe, scanning teams noticed gravitational distortions, faint tremors at first, then growing into alarming fluctuations. They reminded one xenophysicist of something she'd seen in an ancient Virellan archive. Her report was dismissed. Humans dismissed many things until they exploded directly in front of them, and so Xalomor drifted peacefully toward the newly settled worlds of humanity, having consumed a Trillari battle group only days prior. Its dark, nerve-like tendrils brushed against starlight, absorbing it. Within its colossal folds, memories pulsed, alien ships crumpling, planets going silent, minds dissolving as their neural patterns were devoured and added to Xalomor's ancient intellect. But as it approached the human colonies, it sensed something different. Humanity was loud, not physically but mentally. Their technological broadcasts were riddled with contradictions, humor, violence, self-mockery, and brilliant flashes of creativity. Their species produced an electromagnetic cacophony unlike any other civilization. To Xalomor's senses, human signals felt like madness painted with lightning. It accelerated. The galaxy's terror was curious. Middle. Humanity says hello. Admiral Leona Hart had been in the middle of a breakfast argument with her ship's AI about the nutritional deficiencies of synthetic bacon when the emergency alarms blared. The UNS Helios, pride of the Federation fleet, snapped from casual orbit into defensive posture. Unknown gravitational anomaly emerging from hyperspace, projected radius. "Admiral, this cannot be correct," the AI stuttered. Hart wiped her mouth, stood, and stared at the tactical display. Space itself rippled like a heat haze. A sphere of darkness slowly unfolded, tendrils uncurling in every direction. It wasn't simply the absence of light. It was a presence, a weight pressing against the senses. Even through the viewports, Hart felt her thoughts tugged at. "Dear God," a lieutenant whispered. Xalomor drifted forward, tasting their energies and their minds. Hart forced herself to speak. "All stations, code supernova. I want long-range scans, full-spectrum analysis, and—" A low vibration echoed through the Helios as if something enormous had exhaled across the hull. "Admiral," said the AI in a voice far quieter than before, "this entity is scanning us, not with sensors, with consciousness." So it learns through contact, Hart thought. Wonderful. Xalomor stretched a tendril toward the flagship, brushing the ship's shields. The energy barrier flickered, dissolved, and reformed in shreds. The creature tasted humanity, confusion, chaotic impulses, creativity woven with self-destructive tendencies. Memory clusters inside Xalomor pulsed as it tried to process the sudden influx. It saw images of humans laughing as they ran from explosions they themselves caused. It felt human emotions: curiosity, stubbornness, spite, affection, despair, humor. Humor especially. Humans weaponized humor like a force of nature. This was new. It fascinated Xalomor. From within the depths of its mind, it sent a psychic ripple, a communication attempt. The bridge crew clutched their heads as images poured into them, worlds being devoured, civilizations screaming, dark tendrils consuming suns. Hart gritted her teeth and forced herself upright. "It's talking," she hissed. "Get the neural translators online." Within moments, the ship's advanced translation suite stabilized the mental assault into a conceptual voice. "I am Xalomor. I seek to understand you." Hart steadied herself. "We, humans, prefer not being eaten. If that's an option." "Deity? Yes, that is my function." "Well, how about we skip that function today?" The response was immediate. A tidal wave of confusion, then curiosity. "Your minds are irrational. You build weapons that destroy you. You laugh when you should flee. You seek knowledge that undoes you." "Why?" Hart exhaled. "Because that's what humans do. We experiment, we push boundaries. Sometimes we blow ourselves up. It's not ideal, but it's who we are." Xalomor pondered, its tendrils swirling. "You are strange, dangerous. I wish to learn more. I will consume you slowly." Hart winced. "Not the direction I was hoping we'd go." Humanity's madness begins to show. Within hours, every human fleet in the sector converged. Not to run, to fight. Because humans, when confronted with existential terror, sometimes responded with violence, ingenuity, or, on extremely unfortunate days, science experiments. Admiral Hart coordinated the defense, but the truth was obvious. No conventional weapon could destroy something made of living dark matter. Plasma blasts dissolved inside it. Hypermissiles vanished into its mass as though swallowed by a void. The more energy they dumped into Xalomor, the more powerful it became. But humanity had something no other species possessed. Researchers who saw existential threats as fun challenges. And so the brightest and most unstable minds of the Federation formed on Hart's flagship, arguing over coffee and half-written equations about how to deal with a sentient vacuum monster. "You can't defeat darkness with light," muttered Dr. Sato, scribbling formulas. "But what if we give it more than it can handle? A light so chaotic even it can't process it." "Like what?" Hart asked. "Meme culture," Sato said solemnly. Hart blinked. "I'm sorry? If we overload it with unfiltered human mimetic patterns, absurdity, randomness, humor, contradiction, its neural matrix might destabilize. Think of it like feeding a supercomputer surrealist poetry until it crashes." "Doctor," Hart said slowly, "you want to defeat the most feared entity in the galaxy with nonsense. Not nonsense, Admiral. Human nonsense. The most powerful force in the universe." There was no time to debate. Xalomor had begun wrapping multiple tendrils around the outer colonies, siphoning energy from their stars. Human populations were being evacuated by the millions. But the creature wasn't killing them yet. It was studying them, trying to understand why humans behaved the way they did. And on some level it was beginning to fear what it was learning. The Battle of Perseus Fringe. As humanity's fleets kept Xalomor occupied, scientists prepared the mimetic overload pulse, a directed psychic transmission of concentrated human culture, compressed into a data storm so intense it would fry any organic or semi-organic neural network. To power it, they converted an entire star. Admiral Hart watched the final preparations with a pit in her stomach. "Has this ever been tested?" she asked. Dr. Sato scratched his head. "Well, we tested a prototype on the ship's AI. It started screaming and refused to talk to us for 6 hours. So yes, I feel confident." "That's not reassuring." "No, Admiral, it is not." The fleets engaged Xalomor again as the pulse device charged. Human ships darted between tendrils of darkness, firing uselessly but buying time. Pilots joked over comms, sang battle songs, made bets about which tendril would grab them first. Their bravery, madness, and gallows humor hit Xalomor in waves, and the creature began to hesitate. "Why do you not fear me?" Its mental voice echoed across the comms. A pilot answered, "Buddy, you should see our tax system." Another chimed in, "We survived social media. What's one cosmic nightmare?" Xalomor recoiled in confusion. Hart seized the opening. "All ships fall back. Prepare for pulse detonation." The mimetic pulse array finished charging, its core glowing with the distilled insanity of humanity's cultural archives: jokes, political arguments, cooking tutorials, cat videos, conspiracy theories, 500-year-old memes, philosophy debates, prank compilations, internet challenges, and several billion arguments about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Everything that made humans human, the device activated, a beam of pure data, absurd, contradictory, brilliant, chaotic, shot into Xalomor. The creature convulsed, its tendrils flailed, ripping through space, its immense neural matrix flooded with human cognitive patterns. Emotions it had never known, irony, sarcasm, petty frustration, boredom, hammered at its mind. The humor alone nearly tore its consciousness apart. The galaxy's greatest terror had never experienced anything so violently confusing. For the first time in millions of years, Xalomor screamed. The psychic shockwave rattled ships across the system. Some crews collapsed from the sensory impact. Others burst into hysterical laughter as random human memes echoed through their minds. Inside Xalomor, its consciousness fractured into spirals of chaotic thought, but it did not die. It learned ending, the decision of a god. As the mimetic pulse subsided, Xalomor drifted motionless, its tendrils slowly retracting. The dark matter mass pulsed erratically, struggling to contain the storm of humanity now embedded in its mind. Admiral Hart waited for the creature's next move. Minutes passed. Silence. Then, "I understand now." The voice was quieter, strange, almost reverent. "You are not like the others I have consumed. You are chaos, with purpose." Hart swallowed. "And what does that mean for us?" Xalomor's form began to compact. Its tendrils withdrew. The darkness dimmed. "I cannot predict you. Your minds defy pattern. Your existence eyes pain and joy entwined. You are—" A long pause. "Mad." Hart waited, unsure whether that was an insult or a compliment. "Madness cannot be consumed. IT can only be experienced." The creature slowly drifted backward, retreating from the human fleet. "I will go. I must think. I must dream new dreams." The stars around it shimmered as it folded into hyperspace. But just before it vanished entirely, it sent a final message, not into the minds of the admirals or scientists, but broadcast across every human device, every screen, every channel. A single line of text: "Thank you for the madness." And then Xalomor was gone. Epilogue. History remembers. In the centuries that followed, humans told the story of how they survived the greatest cosmic predator, not through military might or technological superiority, but through the one thing no alien species could ever anticipate: the chaotic, brilliant absurdity of the human mind. Xalomor became a myth, a warning, a lesson. Some believed it would return one day, seeking more understanding of the species that changed it. Others believed it still floated somewhere between galaxies, desperately trying to comprehend why humans made entire videos about hydraulic presses crushing random objects. But Admiral Hart, older and grayer, wrote one private note that historians later uncovered. "Humanity did not defeat the galaxy's terror. We simply introduced it to something even scarier: us."